Okay, so it's Sunday morning, Sunday Kailul. Purim is very soon. Thursday looks that it's going to be Tainus Esther, so there won't be a Shir Thursday night. And Sunday morning is Purim. Because for those that want to have a Shir, La Yehudim Hoysa Oida Zutayra. It's brought in Shulchan Aruch that before the meal, one is actually supposed to learn something. On Purim, before the meal, you got to sit down, a couple minutes, learn something, or you're driving or something. You want to learn something for a couple minutes because Aleichem Shalom, because the pasuk says La Yehudim Hoysa Oida, and the Gemara identifies what all those words mean. Oira is Torah. Anyhow, so but I highly doubt we'll have a shir on Purim. So this is the last one for here. We have quite a few Purim shurim on the Spotify account. Today is mostly something new, but it piggybacks a little bit from last week. But it's mostly something new. In other words, today's discussion and last week's discussion are two rivers that come from the same source. So therefore, by way of introduction, I just need to give it 2-3 minutes of introduction in order that we can spring right into today's discussion. The Gemara says in Masechet Megillah, Rabbi Shua ben Levi, we saw this last week, it's not on the paper today, just so you shouldn't feel that there's any repetition, but I'll just say it outside. Rabbi Shua ben Levi says one is chayiv to read the Megillah at night and repeat it by day. Rabbi Shua ben Levi is quasi-Tana, quasi-Amoira. He's only found in one Mishna, in the end of Mishnayos. So for intensive purposes, we'll call him an Amoira. In other words, it's the Gemara saying this obligation you have to read by night and by day. As far as the Mishnayos, as far as the Tanoim and the Mishnayos, we only have mention of day Megillah. In Masechta Megillah, the Mishnah speaks a few times about the day Megillah, never about the night Megillah. Until the Gemara quotes a statement of Rabbi Shua ben Levi, you have to read by night and by day. Where did Rabbi Shua ben Levi get this from? There are two psukim in Tehillim. Rabbi Shua ben Levi says there's a pasuk in Perek Chof Beis, which Lamatzech ala Yeles HaShachar. It's a pasuk that said by David. The Gemara in Yuma says it was a prophecy about Esther. The psukim refer to Esther. And there's a pasuk there that says, Elikai, my God, Ekra Yoima, I call by day, V'loi Sana, you don't answer me, V'laila, and also at night, V'loi Dumili, I'm not silent. I call by day and even at night, I call as well. And from Shua ben Levi learns from there, you have to read my Megillah by night and by day. I did mention last week there are two ways of just simply understanding that. Is Rabbi Shua ben Levi saying that pasuk in Tehillim, the words, God, I call by day and I call at night, is literally a reference, a prophetic reference to reading Megillah by day and by night? Or it refers to the Jews crying in the days of Haman. The Jews cried by day, the Jews cried by night. And to commemorate the suffering by day and by night, we read the Megillah by day and by night. There are two ways to look at that. That's actually, it's going to come up again. There was another pasuk the Gemara brought that somehow linked to Megillah by day and by night. It's in Kapitel Lamed. Laman yizamercha chaved v'lo yida. In order that my glory should sing to you, my glory means my soul, v'lo yidam, I shouldn't be silent. And that kapitel is also based on another medrash, a reference to the Purim story, and that pasuk teaches me you got to read twice. L'man yizamercha chaved, my honor should sing to you. That's once. That's by day. V'lo yidam, I won't be silent at night. So that's what the Gemara says. You got to read by night and by day. That's the halacha. You have to read by night and by day. Last week we saw that Tosfos proved, and the Rosh proved from many, many sources throughout the Masechta, the main reading is by day. The main reading is by day, and Tosfos therefore said the day warrants a new Shechiyanu. Okay, that's what we explored last week. We saw the Rambam disagrees. The Rambam holds you don't make a new Shechiyanu. And the theme of the shir was Is that because the Rambam holds different to Tosfos, that the two obligations are equal, night and day, and therefore there's no reason to repeat Shechianu? Or does the Rambam agree that by day is the main obligation, but that doesn't warrant a new Shechianu, right? There were two ways of understanding the Rambam. Does the Rambam hold both obligations are equal, they're even Steven, and therefore why would you make a new Shechianu by day? It's like making a new Shechianu on the second night Chanukah. You wouldn't do that. Right. But, or maybe the Rambam agrees in theory by day is the main mitzvah, but that's not enough to make Shechianu. Like we saw from the Vilna Gaon, if you make a Shechianu when you prepare the sukkah, that covers you for sitting in the sukkah, etc. We also mentioned the Roikeach, the great Rishon of the Roikeach, Rabbi Lozer Roikeach from Worms, Vermeise in Germany, also known as Germeise. The Chidor writes somewhere why it was called Vermeise. There was a worm there. There was some animal that seemed like it breathed fire or something, and every day it would swallow a human. And one day, there was a valiant knight said, I will let it swallow me with my knife. And this animal swallowed him, but he wasn't chewed, just swallowed, and from within, he destroyed the animal with the knife. So from then on, they called it Vermeise for this worm. A legend. That's what he brings. He brings. Yeah, fascinating story. What?
That he wormed
they killed it.
Head.
Yeah, he wormed it. No, so that's what Germeise and Vermeise is the same place. Today, Worms, Germany. Rabbi Lozer Roikeach, one of the greatest of the Rishonim in Kabbalah particularly, but of course he was big in Nigla as well. And the Roikeach says that actually the night Megillah is the main Megillah. He said the night Megillah was the main Megillah, which is so strange because Tosfos and the Rosh have proof after proof that the day is the main one. And you don't have to go past the fact that in the Mishnayos of Megillah it only mentions day. There's two Mishnas that mention there's a Mishnah that says that the day Megillah has to be after dawn, l'chatchila after sunrise. It never speaks anywhere about the night Megillah. It's only Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Comes the Roikeach and he flips it all on his head. He said, nah, the night one's the main one. You know, it's like the Mishnah maybe didn't, took it for granted. Everyone knew that. Had to tell you about the day. A complete opposite perspective.
You know why?
But he says
because
that,
he was so north, it's almost like Norway, where the night is only 2-3 hours.
Especially if you change the clock before Purim.
Like now.
Sorry.
Yeah, tough. Now they probably have a late fast. Change the clock, you have an extra hour fast, But the Tainus Esther is the only fast. It's not about mourning. It's an interesting type of fast. Yeah. It's not about mourning. It's like a celebratory fast. Anyhow.
It's in the month of Adar.
Right. So, but last week the whole discussion centered about the Shechianu, and today we're going to see the following. A major theory pushed by the Sha'agas Aryeh and by the Noda B'Yehuda, who were contemporaries. They were both in the times of the Baal Shem Tov. Sha'agas Aryeh was a little older than the Baal Shem Tov, a couple of years. Baal Shem Tov was born in 1698. Sha'agas Aryeh was born a few years earlier. Aryeh Leib Ginsburg was his name. A genius of a man. He was a legend in his own lifetime. And he was in numerous cities, in Volozhin, in Minsk. In Minsk, there was a great Torah genius by the name of Rabbi Yechiel Halpern. He wrote the Seder Hadoros, incredible work on history, a very deep work on history. And Rabbi Yechiel Halpern was older, and he was a big scholar there in Minsk. And the two of them had a bit of a clash head-to-head in their students. The Sha'agas Aryeh had to leave the city, before he had to run in order to escape unharmed. He fled the city. It was, as fast as he could. He was on a wagon. And as he left, he turned around and he said, Minsk isn't burning yet. And for many years later, there were many fires in Minsk. So people say, can you imagine those days when even the Sha'agas Aryeh couldn't get a job to be rabbi because there was a pre-existing Torah genius? Those were good days,
Yeah.
The Sha'agas Aryeh then went to France, to Metz, and life was, they paid him a much better salary. Lots of stories about that, right?
Right, the sugar.
The sugar with the coffee, didn't. Anyhow, so you have the Sha'agas Aryeh, and holding hands with him, so to speak, is Rabbi Yechezkel Landau of Prague, the Noda Yehuda. So he's a few years younger. He's born in 1713, about 20 years younger than the Sha'agas Aryeh. And Rabbi Yechezkel Landau, the famous Noda Yehuda, rabbi of Prague, relative of the Baal Shem Tov. His wife was a relative of the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov, in fact, when he was younger, used to travel. He traveled and he would stay a few times at the Noda Yehuda's house because of the mishpocha. But the Noda Yehuda himself would make a tea. The Noda Yehuda didn't buy into the Baal Shem Tov's, way of life. But he took care of his guests. He would pour him tea, and the Baal Shem Tov said, I don't feel comfortable that this scholar is, taking himself out of the study and pouring me tea.
You're not supposed to feel comfortable. That's on us.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to feel
But you see,
comfortable.
the Noda Yehuda did what he was supposed to do.
Exactly.
He didn't say, here, go make yourself a tea.
Exactly.
He made him a tea.
Yeah.
Even though he queried the Baal Shem Tov's way of life.
Right.
Anyhow, and the Baal Shem Tov stopped staying there, though. So the official, because he didn't want to impose on... Some historians say the Baal Shem Tov just wasn't comfortable, and this was an excuse. But the Baal Shem Tov did say, and so the Baal Shem Tov said, and therefore as Chassidim will just take his word for it, that the reason was he just didn't want to impose on the Noda Yehuda. Anyhow, the Sha'agas Aryeh and the Noda Yehuda put forward the following idea. It's simple but groundbreaking. In the Megillah it says, "V'hayomim ha'elan nizkarim v'nasim." These days will be commemorated and reenacted, acted, which the Gemara learns that pasuk means like this: Hayomim ha'elan nizkarim. You have to commemorate the day by reading the story in the Megillah. V'nasim means you have to act. That means the shalach manas, the matanos levyonim, the meal, all the mitzvahs. V'hayomim ha'ela, the Gemara itself understands that to mean that the days have to be remembered by day. It's not just these days or the Purim story should be remembered in the future. The days being remembered needs to take place by day. There is a Gemara that says that in Megillah. So therefore, says the Sha'agas Aryeh and the Noda Yehuda, when it comes to reading the Megillah by day, that's legislated by the Megillah itself. It's from Tanakh. It's not from Chumash, but it's from Megillah Esther, which is part of the Ksuvim. It's written in Ruach HaKodesh. It's called Divrei Kabbalah. All the words in the Nevi'im is called Divrei Kabbalah. And it's a tier underneath a mitzvah in the Chumash, but it's a tier above a regular D'Rabbanan. It's in between, and it has certain stringencies of a D'Oraisa. It's called Divrei Kabbalah. But reading at night, says the Sha'agas Aryeh Yehuda, reading Megillah at night was never legislated by the Megillah itself. It was a later enactment that happened later. The rabbis saw that at the night of Purim, people are twiddling their fingers. They said, you know what, read the Megillah. It happened later, and therefore that's a regular D'Rabbanan. Reading at night's a regular D'Rabbanan. That's a mitzvah D'Rabbanan, like Netilas Yadayim, like Chanukah. Reading by day is legislated by the Megillah, by Kisvei Kodesh, by the Holy Scriptures. It's Divrei Kabbalah. That is what they posit. And I'm here to discuss 10 halachic differences that result from this theory between the night Megillah and the day Megillah. 10 practical differences. People usually think both the Megillahs, which one's the main one? You come to Shul at night, everyone's there, men, women, everyone's dressed up. You come by day, who knows, he's barely a minion, right? No. According to these shittas, the day Megillah is the main Megillah. So that we already saw in, you see, Tosfos already said that the Megillah by day is the main Megillah. Fine. This is taken to a new level. Not only that the reading by day is the main one, it was the original enactment. The night Megillah Johnny come lately, and it's just a D'Rabbanan, it's a lower tier. It's a lower obligation.
What is it? Sort of like being Koiled or Laila.
Right. So that you asked, Rabbi Blank is a good point that, when it comes to commemorating Yetzias Mitzrayim, we mentioned this last week, the Gemara says it very much depends on when the redemption took place. At night, Paro said, get out of here. But God said you got to stay in your homes till dawn. So technically, we didn't leave till day, but the redemption really began at night. And the difference is, Ben Zoyma says you have to remember Yetzias Mitzrayim by night and by day. Chacham say only by day, because of this debate. And Rabbi Blank is applying that over here. When was the real miracle by the Megillah? Balaylahu Achashverosh couldn't sleep. Then you would think that the night is the time of the miracle. Then the night should be the time to read the Megillah. That's what the Rekeach says. Huh? So maybe that's a bit of an explanation.
In general, in the Velt, because I deal with all books like I mentioned before for people, the Velt takes on the evening is always the biggie. Purim, we find that Purim is by Yom Kippur. The shuls are packed at night.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about our shul.
Right.
It seems to be, whether it's the evening thing or whether it's because it's the beginning of something.
It's also the second night in Kippur is also packed. Ne'ilah. Not the same as Kol Nidre, huh?
No. He's not talking about Purim. He's talking about...
Even by Frum shuls, Ne'ilah is much busier than Sha'agas.
Regular, it's Kol
Nidre. What Ne'ilah is.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the development.
Reform, conservative.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure whether it's like the evening or whether it's just because it's the beginning of something. So they
Yeah.
But the same thing with Purim. At night is always much more crowded.
Yeah. On the other hand, we saw Tosis did say, we saw last week, the Iker Pirsume Nisa, the main publicity is by day.
Yeah,
Maybe back in those days, we said people were maybe afraid to venture out at night.
Go at night. No cars.
Right. No lampposts, there's no light in the streets. Fine. So, who are the Sha'agas Aryeh and who are they taking on? Like, who disagrees with this? Well, no one said it until them, okay? So that's the Taz, who lived he passed away in 1667. So here's a few generations before them. The Taz holds both by night and by day is Divrei Kabbalah. The Taz seems to hold that even the night Megillah is also from the scriptures.
Where does he get it?
Okay, hold on. I'll say in a second. So you'll say, okay, the Taz, he's an Achron, the Sha'agas Aryeh had no problem throwing the Rambam out the window if he had to. He has no problem arguing with the Taz. But there are a few Rishonim that seem to go with the Taz, namely the Rashba and the Ritva. And the one who points this out is Ovadia Yosef. He has a long tshuva, beautiful tshuva, where he discusses some of the things of it, not everything, but some of the things. And in it, Ovadia Yosef says, with all due respect to the Noda Yehuda and the Sha'agas Aryeh, if you look in the Rashba and the Ritva, they seem to hold, like the Taz, that both by night and by day is from the scriptures. Where do they get it from? From the Psukim and Tilim that Yeshua ben Levi got it from. Those Psukim, the one that said, I will call by day, Elokai ekra yoimam v'lo sana, and at night as well I won't be silent. And the other pasuk that's quoted by Ula Berurah, we saw, L'man yizamercha chavod. The Rashba and the Ritva seem to learn those that when the Gemara marshals those psukim, it's literal. It's literal. It's literal. What it could boil down to is that pasuk in Kapitel Chav Beis. Elokai ekra yom, I call by day, and you don't answer, and at night, I'm not silent either. I mentioned before, David said that as a prophecy for Esther. But does that refer to the cry of the Jews? They cried by night and by day. And to commemorate that, we read Megillah by night and day? Or the pasuk itself is referring to the reading of the Megillah? So it's an incredible thing. I will show you. Join me number 4 for a second. Number 4, it's a little bit out of order, but don't worry. Number 4, there's a very strange din of the Shulchan Aruch. When it comes to shofar, you can hear someone else blow, even if you know how to. It could just be one-on-one, right? You hear someone blow, it's like you blew. Or it's like you heard. When it comes to Kiddush, whether you know, you don't know, you can hear your friend make Kiddush, Havdalah, all these things. Shemea ka'ina, hearing it is like you said it. It works. Shmoyne Esr, if someone's unable to daven, you can't stand next to somebody else and hear them say Shmoyne Esr. You have to have a minyan. 10 people. What about when it comes to Megillah? The halacha is, look at number 4. In number 4, Rabbi Yosef Kaira quotes a din. Makom she'ein minyan, if there's no minyan, im echad yoidei, if one guy knows how to blow, va'acherim einam yoidim, but others don't, echad poitris klum, one guy could, what did I say, blow? I'm sorry, by reading the Megillah. One guy could read the Megillah for, if there's no minyan, there's 5 people. One guy knows the Megillah, 4 guys don't. The one can read for the 4. But ve'im kulam yoidim, if all 4 of them know, kol echad kol atzmo, they all do it themselves. It's a very strange halacha. What he's saying is, if there's a minyan, then one guy reads for everyone, no problem. If there's no minyan, then it depends. If each one can read, you do it yourself. If you can't, one guy does for all. Very strange. We don't have this anywhere else. If you compare it to shofar, then one guy can always blow for somebody else, or by kiddush. If you compare it to Shmoneh Esrei, then even with a minyan, it only works for someone who doesn't know. And if you have no minyan, it won't even work for someone who doesn't know. So the Magen Avraham on that, I actually copied it, and then the little thing disappeared on me. But the Magen Avraham on that Shulchan Aruch number 4 says, you know what the pshat is? This comes from the Sefer Orchos Chaim, one of the Rishonim in Provence. And the Magen Avraham says, reading the Megillah is like a prayer. It's like a prayer. You think you're just telling a story? No, it's like a tefillah. You don't mention God's name. When you read the Megillah, it's like a tefillah. So therefore, halachically, it's somewhat similar to tefillah. Not exactly, because by tefillah, even when you have a minyan, only someone who can't daven on his own can be Yosef from the chazan. If you only have 8 people, then no one could be Moitzi anybody. And here, even this opinion is not saying it. This opinion is saying if you have 10, everyone can hear. And if you have 5, at least those that don't know can hear. So it's not exactly like Shmoneh Esrei, but a little bit. Why? Because when you read the Megillah, it's like a prayer. So people ask in the Magen Avraham, reading the Megillah is like a prayer? What's he talking about? So that pasuk in Tehillim in Kapitel Chaf Beis, Elokai, God, Ekra Yob, my call by day, and you don't answer, and by night. If you learn that pasuk itself was a prophecy for the Megillah itself, how is David HaMelech presenting the Megillah? As a plea. So if you learn that way, though, that means the pasuk itself is referring to the Megillah, and it says day and night. That's how both the Rashba and the Ritva seem to learn. Rabbi Ovadia Yosef points out in the letter, the Rashba and the Ritva seem to learn that pasuk is literally a source for the reading Megillah by night and by day. So which means that both night and day is legislated from the Tanakh.
Do we have anything else like that?
Yeah.
Something where
Shabbos.
no, we're David HaMelech, prior to Megillah ever happening in Tehillim.
So it could be.
He's not referencing it.
So it could be that once you have the Megillah, which says you have to read by day, once you have that pasuk in Megillah Esther, then together with the pasuk in Tehillim, which mentions day and night, you can fuse the two together and say that.
How do you come to say that
The
David's
pasuk
referring to Tehillim?
the Megillah? No, the Gemara in Yuma learns that whole kapitel is referring to Esther. Many allusions to the psukim.
Why?
Daf Chav Tes. I don't want to get into it, but the Gemara,
Is there
many
any other
allusions.
place like that, or is that like the only time in Tehillim? Is there other parts of Tehillim that are?
They spoke about the future. Yeah, the question is halachically.
Because it has a halachic impact here.
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is the
yeah. It is halachically, but it could be that you fuse the two together. You see from the Megillah, you have to read Megillah B'chlal. Hayom Elin is Karim, you have to read it. And the pasuk in Tehillim is revealing that it has to be by night and day. Between the two together, we come out with the conclusion, the scripture backs reading by night and by day. That's the Rashba and the Ritva. Seemingly, they don't say it so clear, but Ovadia Yosef believes. We know the Taz holds that. And knowing that, you appreciate the revolution of the Sha'agas Aryeh Noda, because you're going to see that most people paskin like the Achronim in this one. The Sha'agas Aryeh Noda is actually going to be the bottom line.
Actually, you could say that the Tehillim, we're not. It's not really telling you halachas, it's telling you the zman. We already know the halachas, it's telling you a zman. So it's adding one.
Right, it's revealing.
So it's a zman.
Right.
So Megillah comes out the halachas.
But from the Megillah itself, you don't have to read twice. Could just be once. If the Megillah would say read twice,
Yeah, but
and now
I'm saying, but the etzem.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The etzem chiyuv is from the Megillah Esther.
Why don't we look at it differently? For instance, you have the ruling you have to read the Megillah in the day, but if you accept it that in all holidays we start the night before because it's all based on Shabbos.
Right.
So the
Right,
Easter stopped before Shabbos, right? So it elevates the Megillah to be the same as all halachic.
But question for you is, Shalach Manos is only by day. If you give it the night before, it doesn't work. All the other mitzvahs, the meal, the gifts to the poor, all the other mitzvahs don't apply at night.
No, that's.
But they do apply by scripture by day.
Because there's no prohibition for you to do things during the day. It's not that kind of holiday where you're not allowed to carry. So, in other words, the holiday is the daytime. Like you said, 100% the Megillah you're supposed to read at night. But what you're doing is you're elevating it. But you don't take it at night because you can take it in the daytime. All the other holidays you cannot carry in the daytime, so you have to do it before the holiday.
Okay.
So why can't you say you read the Megillah in the daytime? You can do it.
You do read it in the
daytime.
But why is it a given that you have to read at
night?
night?
The night before is elevating the Purim, the Megillah itself, not Purim.
So why not elevate Shalach Manos?
So you do it the same because
do it twice.
Do it twice, yeah.
Okay, so do it twice. There's no rule that says you cannot do it twice.
But there's no Indian. It doesn't accomplish anything. It's like any other day of the year. It's always nice to give somebody shirts or anything, or it's always a beautiful thing.
Exactly.
But it wouldn't be different than any other day of the year. So you wanted to?
Yes, you told that reading the Megillah Minyan elevates to a level of prayer.
That's what.
And what do you think? It's the power of the Minyan or the power of the Megillah?
When you do it together, the power reaches. It's unstoppable power.
But the power of the Minyan also gives strong and.
If they're doing something, not just sitting around.
Yes.
But there's when they daven, but when they read the Megillah, when they're the Megillah itself praises Hashem. You're praising Hashem for an incredible miracle. It accomplishes incredible things in heaven. And according to Magen Avraham, it gets both. You praise Hashem, and you also get credit for davening. Now, I will tell you, though, that this din in number 4, you don't see it practiced. If you have 5 people in Shul and they all happen to know, you'll very often see one person reading for the others. We don't really follow this because the Magen Avraham says that he quotes a whole slew of opinions that disagree with this Shulchan Aruch. So you have number 4. The Rabbi Yosef Kaira only brings this one line in number 4. It's one opinion. He doesn't say there are those that say. He says, this is what we do. And it's quoting from the Orchos Chaim. We said he was he lived in Lunel in Provence. But the Magen Avraham says, I found in many other sources, halachic sources, that anyone could read for somebody else, even if the other person knows how to read, and that's really what the custom has become. Although some people, you will find some machmirim who go like the Shulchan Aruch. And if there's only 9 people in the shul, you're going to see one guy going to the side to read himself. Yes, you will. Yeah, you will. And you should just know. If you see it on Purim, before you throw the guy out, you should know. He'll say the Shulchan Aruch only one's opinion. The Ramah doesn't disagree. You have a Magen Avraham, fine. Anyhow, but I'm just bringing this. He quotes the debate, but he quotes the debate. But
it seems to be that he holds that one should say for the others.
Yeah, because the Magen Avraham says is really an argument to say the other way around, because Berurah am hadras melech, the more people, the more splendor for God. So the Magen Avraham says that once he proves from certain sources that you could do one for one, even though you both know, it could be better to do that way. When you group together, grouping together is better.
Call the outlier back.
On the other hand, that's the Magen Avraham, but it's the Shulchan Aruch. So you should know, there are those that are machmir like this even today. I know people that are machmir like this today. The reason I brought it, though, is because the Magen Avraham gives this idea that Megillah is like davening, and that's based on how you learn that whole pasuk in Tehillim. If the pasuk itself, which refers to crying out by day and by night, refers to the Megillah, then A, that teaches you the Megillah itself is like a prayer, and there's reason to say you might need a minyan. B, you see the Rashba and the Ritva that it could be the Megillah by night as well, is backed up by the scriptures. Fine. But the Sha'agas Aryeh and the Noda Yehuda, they say no. They say no. By night is a later rabbinic development. The only thing backed up by the scriptures is by day. Day is Divrei Kabbalah, which is a very serious, much more serious obligation. By night is merely rabbinic. So I want to quickly tell you 10 differences. Join me in number 5.
Is there a connection between that Ma'ariv is not it's not a chiyuv
like Rabbi Yeshua, Ma'ariv is Rishus.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's actually this connected the Karbonis, and at night there was no official carbon. Maybe, could be. Look at number 5. Number 5 is a well-known psak of the Terumas Hadeshen, argued by the pre-Chadash. Big debate. Imagine like this: it's Tainus Esther. There's someone who's weak, hard to fast, but they're not breaking their fast. They're going. Okay, fast ends at 8 o'clock. Now you have to hear a Megillah, right? This guy's too weak to go to Shul. He's home. So there's one Balkaira. So this fellow fasting, we call him Yankel, he's not going to Shul. He could wait for the Balkaira to finish in Shul, and then come to his house, and then read the Megillah. By then, Yankel's not going to eat till like 10 p.m. or something. Another option is that when the fast ends, Yankel eats, and then the Balkaira comes to him. Third option is the Balkaira comes to Yankel's house before Ma'ariv, from Plag Mincha, an hour and a quarter before the day ends. Rabbi Yehuda holds you could have a Ma'ariv then. Rabbi Tam holds you could say Kriya Shema from then. It's night for certain mitzvahs. So maybe for night Megillah as well. These are the 3 options this guy has, right? The first option is that he waits till the Balkaira comes crazy late. That's nuts. Or maybe just let him eat when the fast ends and he'll hear Megillah later. He can't make it to Shul. Or maybe the Balkaira should come to him early. So says the Terumas Hadeshen, the third option is the way to go. Look at number 5. This is Rabbi Yosef Kair in the Shulchan Aruch, quoting the Terumas Hadeshen. Rabbi Yisrael Isserlan is his name. Lives in Austria in the 1400s. Mishu Anus Ksa, someone who has some type of emergency. The Eina extreme case, Eina Yachol Leilich Lebeis, he can't go to Shul. V'tzarich Lahamtin Ad Achar Shekor Kal, he's going to have to wait till after the minyan reads, and then for the guy to come. V'kosh Olav, it's hard, he can't fast so long. Yachol Lishmoya Kriyasim Ba'id Yom, he can hear it early. Miplag HaMincha L'mayla. So the Baal Kor, which is about an hour and a quarter before the end of the day. So the Baal Kor will come to him, read early, and then as soon as nightfall comes, the guy can eat. And the Baal Kor goes to Shul. That's what the Terumas Hadeshen says. And the Ramah, in the line underneath, the fainter letters, is the Ramah adding that the other option of him eating when the night begins, and then the Baal Kor coming later. You can't eat before you hear Megillah, even if the time is kosher, even if the fast is hard. That's from the Terumas Hadeshen. The Terumas Hadeshen says even if the fast is particularly hard, you don't eat before the Megillah.
Time change in Europe.
You don't eat before the Megillah. So therefore, the option of him eating when the fast ends, and then the Baal Kor coming to him later is a non-option. That is what. So the Rabbi Yosef Kair and the Ramah are both going with this Terumas Hadeshen. The Pri Chadash, Rabbi Chizkiah di Silva, big Rav in Eretz Yisrael in the end of the 1600s. He died a young man, 39, still in his 30s. And he wrote incredible work on Shulchan Aruch, and he was not afraid to take down big Rabbonim from hundreds of years before him. Particularly Rabbi Yosef Kaira, he was not afraid to argue with Rabbi Yosef Kaira, and because of it, he got lots of flack. Who are you, a young guy in your 30s? You're writing a work against Rabbi Yosef Kaira. You live in Eretz Yisrael. This is the country of Rabbi Yosef Kaira. This is his area, his turf. You're coming here 100 years after him, more, and a young man, and you're just questioning his psukim. So they actually had an emergency meeting in Egypt, and they banned the pre-Chadash Sfarim from coming to Egypt.
Wow!
In the end of the 1600s, they banned it. They had a shayla: should they put him in Cherem or just his works. They put his works in cherem. They said his works were in cherem. The irony is that the next chief rabbi of Egypt was a student of the Pri Chadash, Shlomo El Ghazi, and all of his psakim were his Rebbe's psakim. So the Pri Chadash had the last laugh. But the Pri Chadash over here takes on the Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah, and the source, the Terumas Hadeshen. The Pri Chadash says you can't read from Plag. It needs to be night. It needs to be night. The Pri Chadash says you can't read the Megillah early. So this is a non-option. So,
which is interesting, considering that we were saying that the nighttime is even questionable.
oh,
So now they're making it very, very strict.
great. Exactly. So it almost seems like, what's the debate? So Rabbi Ovadia Yosef writes in his letter, you know what the debate between the Terumas Hadeshen and the Pri Chadash is? It's the very debate between the Rashba, the Ritva, and the Taz versus the Sha'agas Aryeh, Noda, Yehuda. If you hold like the Rashba, the Ritva, and the Taz, that by night as well is legislated from the scriptures, it says until in Laila, night. Whenever scripture says night, it means when the stars come out. Rabbi Yehuda says you could do from Plag. Rabbi Natam says Shema, because by Shema it says B'shach b'chad. It doesn't say night. It says when you lie down. So maybe it's earlier. Okay. But when the scripture says Laila, it means night. So it says
Kiddush has to be at night.
Exactly. Yes.
So then exactly. So then why does it say that not eating for a person who's challenged, right? He's challenged. Then his not eating, he has to wait to hear it, and the Megillah cannot be read in the daytime. So obviously, it
can't be read exactly.
But he should be able to eat before.
Okay. You're asking according to the Pri Chadash, who removes the option of reading early. So what's he supposed to do? Right. If he can't read early, he has to. So the question is, should he eat before, or wait till the Bar Kola?
For him to eat before.
So the truth is, the Magen Avraham holds it's usher to eat. You're allowed to taste. He can nibble a little bit. Okay. You can nibble. He nibbles. That's what he'll do.
Okay.
According to the Shulchan Aruch, you're better off not nibbling and just reading it a little bit earlier. That's the best option. Right. So Rabbi Ovadia Yosef writes in his letter, if you go like the Rashba, the Ritva, and the Taz, that by night as well as legislated from the scripture, it says until in Laila. Laila means night, so the Pri Chadash screams, how could you read it early? But he says if you go like the Sha'agas Aryeh, the Noda Yehuda, that by night is only D'Rabbanan, it's not from the Psukim. The Pasuk in Tehillim was just an illusion, but it's really just an enactment of the Chachamim. Then it's like Ma'ariv. You could do from Plag. So that's one difference. So the first difference between the opinions is a big difference. The nighttime Megillah, can you do it early? So for Shluchim have this question all the time. If you have someone that can read Megillah now, the guy's listening now, and who knows where he's going to be tonight. According to the Pri Chadash, you can't do the mitzvah like doing the mitzvah. The truth is, there is an idea of doing the Megillah the whole Adar. Like if someone knows they're going to be in a war zone, Purim, they can even read from the beginning of the month.
Right, there
is an idea. There is an idea to read all the way earlier. But what?
Who brings that?
This important that Mishna Berurah brings. The later post can bring this idea. But that's mamish b'shas, and you wouldn't make a.
From Tehillim?
Oh, that's what we discussed before. That I don't know.
So these are all.
It's more. We said that Tehillim is working together with the pasuk Hayom Meilin is Karmenas.
These are all the Achronim, but what about the Rishonim from way back early on, in terms of the Tanit and reading at night? Can you read it a little earlier, or you have to wait for?
No. So in number 5. The Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah hold you can read earlier.
Also came later.
He's quoting from the Terumas Hadeshen.
Okay.
The Terumas Hadeshen is from the last of the Rishonim, the end of the Rishonim, the 1400s in Germany, Austria. So that's one difference. So again, if a shliach sees someone it's an hour before the end of Tainus Esther, and the guy's like, Rabbi, I'm here. I don't know if I'll make it tonight. According to the Pri Chadash, you wouldn't make a bracha if you read for him. It's not the time. You wouldn't make a bracha. According to the Shulchan Aruch, you could read. If he's not going to be there tonight, you read now. And if I'm not mistaken, the Vilna Gaon goes with the Pri Chadash on this one. So it remains a bit of an open-ended debate. But I'm not here to ask him what to do. I'm here to tell you that what? That's before the 11th and after the 15th. But no, here we're talking about an hour before nighttime.
I know, but you said about the whole month.
Oh, yeah. That b'shas hadchak, b'shas. It could be there's no bracha. It's a good question, but it's a halacha which is brought that b'shas hadchak you could, if you know for sure you're not going to be around then.
If it's not,
Would you
if
consider-
it's not the right man, then it wouldn't be a bracha. It would be a ridiculous harm.
Right. So
if
then
you
what would be the
don't say
purpose of
bracha,
doing it? You
so
still
you
accomplish
could-
something.
If you don't say the bracha, it's like reading the Chumash during the week, practicing for Shabbos. I mean,
Okay, but there is an inyan, we said, there's an inyan in the whole Adar to read it. But you're right, as far as the real obligation, according to Pri Chadash, you're too early. I'm not here to tell you the bottom line. I'm here to tell you that the debate pivots on the very discussion we're having right over here. Do you say that night Megillah is backed up by the Psukim, or the night Megillah is just a later invention of the Rabbanon, which is what the Sha'agas Aryeh said? That's number one. Okay, we have a lot more, so we got to do. Okay, number 6. There is a halacha in Shulchan Aruch, an interesting case. You are writing a Megillah on Purim, yeah? It's a great thing to do. You're right. So you have a pre-existing Megillah in front of you, and you're writing a new one. And you keep looking back at the pre-existing, and you read a few words, and you're right. You read a few words, you're right. By the time you finish, you're like, hey, I just read the whole Megillah from the old one. I just read. But at the time, while you were reading it, you didn't have it in mind. There's a halacha called mitzvahs need kavana. When you do a mitzvah, you have to be aware you're doing the will of Hashem. You can't be like, when you finish, hey, do mitzvahs require kavana? So in Gemara Rosh Hashanah, there's a debate between the Amoraim. It remains a machlokes in the Rishonim as well. The Rabbi Yosef Kair in the laws of creation brings 2 opinions. If you woke up in the morning and you said Shema, that was the chumash of the day, right? And they were, hey, I said Shema. There's 2 opinions if you're Yotzer or not. The halacha, though, follows the opinion that you're not. The halacha follows the opinion that a mitzvah requires kavana to be Yotzer. That's the halacha. But that's by a biblical mitzvah. What about a rabbinic mitzvah? If you do a rabbinic mitzvah without any intention, does it work? So here there's a big debate between the Radvaz and again the Pri Chadash is back. The Radvaz holds a rabbinic mitzvah doesn't need kavana. So if you lit your Chanukah menorah with just, I don't know, for whatever reason, then after it's like, hey, I lit it, you did the mitzvah. The Pri Chadash holds no. The Pri Chadash says even a mitzvah Rabbanon requires kavana.
Is there a Mishna about that?
By mitzvah Rabbanon needing kavana?
About writing the...
Yeah, sure. So, and it becomes a debate between the Alter Rebbe and the Vilna Gaon as well. The Alter Rebbe with the Magen Avraham follow the Radvaz. No, the Radvaz. That really you don't need. The Vilna Gaon is big time like the Pri Chadash that you need. Now the Alter Rebbe does bring the Pri Chadash as well in the laws of Pesach. He doesn't dismiss the opinion. But the Magen Avraham, who the Alter Rebbe likes to follow, really takes the Radvaz that by mitzvah Rabbanon you don't need. So the question is like this: the Shulchan Aruch paskins, if that Megillah story happens, the Shulchan Aruch says you're not Yotzer. If you happen to wake up in the morning and you're practicing the Megillah, right, from a real scroll, and then you finish like, hey, I just read the Megillah, it doesn't work. You have to have kavanah.
Without beracha.
Yeah.
Without beracha.
Yeah, correct. There's no bracha. You don't need a bracha. No. Abrachat einon ma'akvot. A bracha doesn't matter. If you do the mitzvah without a bracha, you lost the bracha, but the mitzvah is good. The mitzvah is good. The general rule, right? You lose the bracha, the mitzvah is good. But good point. If you're doing it without kavanah, there's definitely no bracha, but it doesn't matter. You did the mitzvah. So comes number 6, and this is the Yeshuas Yaakov. The Yeshuas Yaakov was a big Litvisher rabbi 200 years ago. A cute story in his. There was always a big shaila by Chadash. Do you say, B'alma divrach? You say, we say V'yatzmach Purkone V'kodev Mashiach. Hashem should bring Mashiach close. In Ashkenazi shuls, oh boy, if you say that in Ashkenazi shul, they'll throw you out. Yeah, Mashiachist, you're talking about Mashiach. Because in his shul, he once walked in and there was a massive fight. There was some chassid there was saying Chadash and he threw in his V'yatzmach Purkone and the Litvishers were screaming at him. This happened in Lvov, I guess, where he lived. And they were screaming. So all of a sudden he patches in the beam. He says, Eibishter, if you would just bring Mashiach already, this whole debate would stop. He wouldn't say it anymore because Mashiach's already here. The whole debate would stop. Anyhow, he was a big scholar. And you know what he says? He says, by day Megillah, if you just happen to read it without intention, you're not going to be Yotze. But by night you would. Because he holds like the Radvaz and the Alter Rebbe, only a biblical mitzvah needs intention. Reading by day is from Divrei Kabbalah, like the Sha'agas Aryeh said. It's from the scriptures. Hayom Meilin is Korim. Words of Tanakh, a mitzvah which is legislated from Tanakh has certain chumras like a mitzvah from the Chumash. Amongst them is you have to be aware of what you're doing. But Megillah at night is only rabbinic. And there the Radvaz says you don't have to have kavanah. Look at number 6. In Yeshua's Yankov he says, the dafka bekriya diyamama. This is the Mishnah Berurah quoting him. Fine. Only by reading by day. Shehu medivrei Kabbalah, which is from the scriptures, from the psukim of the Megillah. Ukedivrei terdam. It's like a biblical mitzvah. You have to have intention. Avo bekriya diyalayla, by reading at night, which is midrabanan. Hakavana eina leikuva. If you don't have intention, it's not a problem. After the fact. Now the Mishnah Berurah says you should know, I hold like the Vilna Gaon. The Mishnah Berurah himself holds like the Vilna Gaon, who holds like the Pri Chadash, that even rabbinic mitzvahs need intention. Right. So he says, according to me, ein lechalik, but he says, what I wrote by the laws of Kriya Shema, this wouldn't hold water. But if you go like the Radvaz and the Magen Avraham, then the Yeshua's Yankov has a great halachic difference between night and day. Since day Megillah is from the Megillah itself, Hayom Meilin Korim, you have to. And a mitzvah from the scriptures is just like from the Chumash. You need to have intention to do the mitzvah. At night, though, it's only later D'Rabbanan. And if you go like the Radvaz and the Magen Avraham, a regular D'Rabbanan doesn't have to have intention. It would work. It would work. It would work.
Well, we're not saying that the Magen Avraham and the Alter Rebbe say that because we don't know whether they think the
correct. But you see that the Yeshua's Yankov also goes with the Noda b'Yehud and the Sha'agas Aryeh.
For sure.
Right. And it's not just him. Most poskim of the last couple hundred years have taken the Sha'agas Aryeh Noda b'Yehud.
Do we know what the Alter Rebbe and the Magen Avraham hold?
The Magen Avraham writes a few times the main Megillah is by day, because Tosfos says that.
Right.
But he never says this difference. Because again, the Taz seems to hold by nights also from the scriptures.
Yeah.
So did the Rebbe hold like the Alter Rebbe?
We don't know what the Alter Rebbe Taka wrote in the Siddur not to make Shechianu by day. Remember we saw that last week. That was the whole thing last week. No, maybe that. But if he held like the Sha'agas Aryeh that at night is only Drabanan, by day is the real mitzvah, would there be any room for him to write in the Siddur not to repeat the Shechianu? It's all conjecture. Right. Anyhow, so that's difference number 2. I'll do this quickly. So difference number 2 was this. Let's see if we can get them all in. There's another one, not on the page, a quick one. There's a halacha, if you're reading Megillah, and if you have a suffix, if someone has a suffix, if he read the Megillah, or if he heard the Megillah. Now, what type of short-term memory loss is that? Did I?
I'm there. What happened?
Someone's not sure if they heard the Megillah. Like, did I hear the Megillah? No, so you would say it means someone's not sure if they were Yotze. Someone's not sure if they heard it. If you miss words, right. So someone's 50-50 if they were Yotze.
Kid was crying. You can't
exactly, yeah.
Here, a kid crying? No, that doesn't happen.
You know?
So it depends if it's the right, right?
You heard a guy, I think you're not sure if the guy was Jewish or a guy. I don't know. You're not sure if the
kid was crying and you didn't know.
Right, exactly. You're not sure if you were Yotze or not. So the halacha is you have to go back.
Really?
Says the Mishnah Berurah.
But you read by yourself? We're going back to number 4?
No, what do you do? So it depends. If you're listening to the
Shul.
Let's say, so if you have your own Megillah, so really you could do it yourself. If you have a Chumash, you're allowed to read until half of the Megillah out of a scroll. Really? So it used to happen to me all the time that if you space out, it's like you didn't hear. Some believe as long as the words entered your eardrums, it's like you heard by
That's
Megillah. By Kiddush, it wouldn't work.
That cannot be kosher
But-
because it's like listening to your wife. It goes in your ears, but you don't hear it.
You don't listen, right? There's hearing and there's listening. By Megillah, some believe as long as it enters your eardrums. Most believe, though, the Megillah is like anything else, that
Kavanah.
you know that if you space out, it's like you didn't hear it.
Right.
So what you do is you have to quickly, go back to the beginning of the pasuk, and you can read from the Chumash. You quickly catch up, and then you listen. You could do that till half of the Megillah, till half,
Is that
just
how we
under
hold
half.
in today?
Yeah. Sure.
No, I'm saying
sure.
is that how we hold by spacing out?
Yeah,
have
if you
to go
spaced
back. You
out,
have to go back
I
to
would
the-
definitely recommend go back to where you know you heard and do it quickly.
When you're
Now,
davening
you wanna-
and you have somebody
Yeah.
walking around bzzz, like this, and you don't
When it
hear
comes
what
to
he said.
Havdalah or Kiddush, we paskin very clearly. If you space out, it didn't work. Then you didn't work.
Right. You
If
have
you
cup
stood
for
ne-
30 seconds.
you have
This
to-
is how thing cup
in
for
order
half an hour.
shemei kain is if you listen. Some believe that Megillah has a different leniency, but I would strongly suggest l'chatchila if you space out for a pasuk or something. And definitely, if you have a suffix, if you heard a word, what you do is you just read it yourself.
Yeah, the suffix for
Those,
sure.
It doesn't have to be the whole pasuk. You can go back to. You can't read anything out of order though, so you have to go back to some point and to start reading from there quickly, catch up to the chazan. and then
So you can't just read that word.
you can't
that's
make it up
wrong
later.
And then jump.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. No. Once you go back and correct the word, you have to read from there quickly. So if you realize that 10 minutes ago, you're pretty much done. You're pretty much done.
Okay.
You got to hear it again.
What
Okay,
if,
but let's.
for some reason you had to leave, like go to the shirutim or something?
When you come back,
and then when you come
there's
back,
it depends how fast they're reading.
But I mean, let's say
I'll tell you what you do.
The
You
2 quarters of down, you missed it. So can
You missed
read by-
more than half.
Yeah. Can you go back and start from the beginning yourself?
If you just have a chumash, you'll be reading
no,
most.
no.
of
If you have the Megillah.
Oh, then you could just do it by yourself whenever. You don't need the minion.
Okay.
You can do it by yourself.
Fast while Kaira, you can't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a problem. If the guy's going very fast, you can barely even hear it while he's doing it. Anyhow, the point is, the Mishnah Berurah says, this din about if you're not sure, there's a big difference of day or night. By night, reading the Megillah is only a later enactment from the Chachamim. We have a general rule. A suffix of the Chachamim, you're lenient. You don't have to go back. By day, it's from the scriptures. It's from Divrei Kabbalah. It's from the Psukim in Megillah Esther. Ayom Elul, you have to remember it. So then, if you're not sure, you have to go back. That's a major difference. It's a huge thing.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions at night, you don't have to do it again. That's what he brings. And that's based on the Sha'agas Aryeh. If you would ask the Taz or the Rashba and the Ritva, the way the Ovadia Yosef presents them, they would say you got to go back at night. But we're mekel.
Right.
We're mekel. L'maisa b'koil we're mekel. Shabur brings it, and no, I'm telling you, the Meiser we take on this Noda B'Yehuda and the Sha'agas Aryeh. It's not just in theory; it's real. Wow. So that's so far you have a few big differences. One of them is reading early at night. One of them is if you did it without intention. One of them, if you're not sure if you were Yotze. Right. We continue. Here is another quick one. Okay, we started last. We'll do the villagers. Back in the day, the Mishnah of Megillah begins. The people in the villages, Nebuch didn't know how to read the Megillah, and make them come into the big town on Purim. They're coming to the big town anyways, the Monday and Thursday before. So let them read Megillah then. Now, why are they coming to the big town the Monday and Thursday every week? Either market day, or because that's when the courts were set up if they had litigations, right? Or some say just because they wanted to hear the Kriyas HaTorah. So the Ran famously asks in the beginning of his commentary to Megillah that when they come in the Monday, Thursday before Purim, they're coming in the morning. Right? They're coming early morning. What are they doing about the night Megillah? The Rosh asks this as well, and they both say the same thing. The main Megillah is by day. That's what we're concerned about. That's what we're concerned about. So they don't clearly say, they just say that the main Megillah is the day, and that's what bothers us. We're not so concerned about the night. Hold on. We're not so concerned about the night. We're not so concerned about the night. If both obligations are from the scripture, like the Taz wants to say, then even if the day is primary, still, they're losing a night. But if you go like the Sha'agas Aryeh Noda B'Yehuda, that at night was only a later enactment, those rabbis never obligated the villagers.
Yeah.
They never obligated them. The real biblical status obligation from the Divrei Kabbalah was by day, and that they're not off the hook. They got to do it. But as far as night was a later enactment, and those Chachamim knew the situation, and the Chachamim always deal with the practicalities. They didn't obligate them. So that would be a very geschmacke explanation, a very good explanation.
The others hold. How do they answer? This is
Getting back to
Mishnah.
last
The
week,
Ran
they say
writes a
Shehecheyanu on
possibility.
Thursday, like this year, it's a Sunday. On Thursday, if the villager hears it, does he say Shehecheyanu?
Good question. We don't do this these days. Back in the day when they did it,
back then, would he say
Yeah.
Shehecheyanu
yeah, yeah,
on Thursday?
yeah,
Yeah, it's
before,
Mishnah.
yeah. The Ran gives an option. He says it could be the villagers knew how to read, but they didn't have their own minyan. So they would have to come in on Purim to the big town just to get the minyan. So for that we say, you know what? You can do the minyan thing the Monday and Thursday before Purim. But it could be each of them knew how to read themselves. So that they did in their own house at night. He writes that as the Ran writes a possibility. Yeah, the simple thing, the villagers don't know how to read.
Yeah, that's
No, who told you that? Maybe that's not the pshat.
Gemara
The
talks about
pshat
that
is
over-
the villagers live on their own farms. There's no minyan. That's the pshat the Ran says. No minyan.
Right.
So now in Purim you need a minyan. Pesumei Nisa, you want to get a minyan. So we're not going to make them schlep into town. They're coming Monday, Thursday before. They'll get their minyan then. But the nighttime, they'll do it themselves. So the Taz might have to learn like that.
Yeah.
The Taz might have to learn.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's still not bad. Okay.
Interesting. It's
So that's already the fourth difference. Okay, here we go. This is a big one. Join me in number 7 is a piece of Shulchan Aruch from the laws of Chanukah. Isha madlekes ner Chanukah. Okay, a woman is chayiv to light candles of Chanukah, even though it's a mitzvah which is bound by time. Sha'afi chayesh is chayiv because she was part of the miracle. And in fact, a wife can light for her husband. There was a whole story by one of the Rishonim, the Maharash, who said he had to travel out of town. He asked his wife to light for him, and she didn't. And the whole thing and the whole discussion, you see, you shouldn't rely on blah, 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 blah. But if the wife does light, if she remembers to light, it covers for the husband. Covers. If a deaf mute, a shoiter, an imbecile or a cotton, they light the menorah, lo yasa klum, it's nothing. It's nothing. Even though she nicha gadol, even if they just light it and the gadol places it in the right place. Because the main thing is at the time of the lighting of the menorah. So a kid doesn't count. If a kid lights the menorah for the family, it doesn't work. V'yeshmi sha'omer, some say no. Bekotten shegi lechinuch mut, if the kid has reached the age of 6 or 7 years old and is the time of chinuch, he can light for you. It's from the Baal Ha'Itur. Rabbi Yitzchak ben Abba Mori was his name. He was in the 1100s in France. And the Shulchan Aruch brings him. That some say the kid can actually light for you. The Ramah just says, Uladidan, according to us, the Chol Echom B'Abayis, right, the meaning of Ashkenazim is that each person lights a menorah, then once the cotton reaches chinuch, he needs to light for himself. Fine, that's just the Ramah's answer, addition. So Rabbi Yosef Kaira, though, in the bold words, is saying 2 opinions. Opinion number 1 is, a kid can't light menorah for his father. Opinion number 2 is he can. What's the debate? The debate's like this. The father's own lighting of the menorah is a rabbinic obligation. The kid also rabbinically has to light because of chinuch. Once the kid reaches the age of chinuch, the Chachamim said once the kid reaches 5, 6, 7, depends on his abilities, the father has to train him in mitzvahs. Not just biblical mitzvahs, even rabbinic mitzvahs. So the kid also has to light. The Chachamim say the father has to light the menorah. The Chachamim say the kid has to light the menorah. But the kid is a tier below the father. The father is the Chanukah enactment itself. The kid is chinuch on the. It's called trei d'Rabbanan. The kid is one d'Rabbanan on top of another. The Chanukah itself is d'Rabbanan, and then even in that is only the chinuch aspect. The father is the raw d'Rabbanan, one d'Rabbanan. The kid is called 2 d'Rabbanans. But the Baal Ha'Itur, the Rabbi Yosef Kaira doesn't care. The Baal Ha'Itur says once it's all in the realm of the Drabbanan, one could be mitzi the other. That's the fact. In fact, Rabbi Yosef Kaira actually, according to many, he paskins like the Baal Ha'Itur that the kid could. Fine.
Wow.
When it comes to the laws of the Megillah, take a look at number 8.
Doesn't the father have to
when it comes, we're going to see a prima godim in number 3 that may address that. Okay? We'll get there in a moment. In number 8, though, is the Shulchan Aruch concerning Megillah. Number 8. Echad HaKoira, the Echad HaShemeya min HaKoira. You don't have to read, even though we make the bracha, al mikro Megillah to read, you don't have to read yourself. If you hear someone else read, it's like you read. Whether you read, whether you hear from someone that read, you're Yosef. But if you're listening to someone, sheyishma, you have to hear from someone who's chayiv in reading. Can you from a goy? You have to hear from someone who's chayiv in the reading. Because the way it works is that person's words that you listen to becomes like your own words. But for those words to fulfill your obligation, they have to be mitzvah recognized words. And therefore they have to be expressed by someone who's chayiv. Lefichach, therefore, if the reader was a cherish, was a mute, a deaf, or a kid or a shaita. Here he says, if a kid reads for you, Hashemeya mimeno lo yatsa, the kid can read. The end of number 8. A cotton cannot read Megillah for a bar mitzvah. Someone about bar mitzvah. So comes the Magen Avraham in number 9, and he wants to know, by the laws of Chanukah, Rabbi Yosef Kaya presents a big debate. The Baal Iter says that the kid could light menorah for you. By Megillah, he doesn't bring this opinion. Magen Avraham wants to know why. We'll read number 9. He says, Afal Gav, even though the Godol Nami Eino Chayiv Elo D'Rabbanan, even though the elder is also only chayiv in the Megillah rabbinically, okay, that's what he says, but the kid can read for him. He says, "V'loy domil mashakos," says some kupev. I'll just say what it says over there, just because it's a real part of the discussion. When it comes to benching, if one person benches after food, birchas hamazon for another, it could work. You can have one person benching for another if the other person doesn't know how to bench. If they all know how to bench, you have to do a zimun. Back in the day, you know what a zimun was? Where there was 3 people, one person benched, the others listened. And that was what real zimun was. And that was when the other 2 know how to do it themselves, but you do a zimun, one can bench for the other 2. But if it's just me and someone else, and the other guy doesn't know how to bench, you don't need a zimun. Even 2 people, I could bench, he could listen. Just like by Kiddush Ravdali, it could be Yotze. That's the halacha. But here's the issue. What if that person ate a full meal? If you eat enough bread that you're full, biblically you have to bench. Okay? Let's say the other guy eating with him is a kid. And the kid also had 5 slices of pizza. Right. The kid's never been more full in his life. There's no question that he's sofa. But he's only benching rabbinically. He's a kid. He's a 9-year-old kid. He's in chinuch. Can he bench for the adult? The adult is chayiv biblically. The kid's chayiv rabbinically. Doesn't work. The words you hear have to be words fitting on your level of obligation in order for them to work. So, taka, the kid can't bench for him because the kid's chayiv rabbinically. This guy's chayiv biblically. But what if the adult himself only had half a slice of pizza, half a slice? He's not v'savata. He had half a bagel. He had a kazayas, a kabeya, half a bagel. He's only benching rabbinically too, right? Minat Torah, you only bench if v'savata. If you're full, if you had a little bit, the chacham said even a kazayas, fine. But so if the kid is full, then he's benching because of chinuch. The adult is benching because Chacham said you. Can the kid read? Can the kid bench for the older guy? Yeah. So over here, the Ramban holds no. The Ramban holds a kid is never chayiv. The father is mechanech the kid. The kid himself has no obligation, so it never works. The halacha though doesn't follow the Ramban. The halacha is since the kid has a rabbinic obligation and the adult as well, he couldn't be mitzi him. That's the halacha. But what if the kid also only had half a bagel? So the kid is trey d'Rabbanan because the act itself is only rabbinic half a bagel and is only chinuch. And the adult though it's like the Chanukah thing.
But it's like so
over there, it works. We say it works. Even though when it comes to Chanukah, we don't hold like the Baal Ha'itr. L'maisa, Maisa B'Poyel, we say your kid shouldn't light menorah for you. Because there's trade Rabbanon versus one Rabbanon. But by benching is different. Why? So the Magen Avraham says, it's very simple. The Magen Avraham says, the kid ate half a bagel, but he could have eaten 2 bagels. He could have made himself into 1 D'Rabbanon. Had the kid eaten the full amount, he's 1 D'Rabbanon, just chinuch. So even if he has half a bagel, he's not considered 2 D'Rabbanons versus the adult. The adult had half a bagel. He's D'Rabbanon, he's benching because he's not full. Had the kid been completely full, he's also 1 D'Rabbanon. Chinuch. Because one day this will be a biblical thing. So even if the kid had half a bagel, he seems to be a D'Rabbanon on a D'Rabbanon, right? The act itself is rabbinic and he's only chinuch. But since he could have eaten more, he could have become 1, right? So the Alter Rebbe has a different explanation, a complicated explanation. I'm not going to go into it now. But the fact is that's the halacha. We paskin, it's the only case where 2 D'Rabbanons could be moitzi 1 D'Rabbanon. When it comes to Chanukah, we don't want the kid lighting because his Chanukah is D'Rabbanon and then he's only chinuch, right?
But you can.
Rabbi Yosef Kaira brings the Baal Ha'itr, says you can. Let's just get all the opinions. Yeah. We, at the end of the day, are not... L'maisa, we don't really take the Baal Ha'itr. The Rabbi Yosef Kaira did. Very nice. Rabbi Yosef Kaira himself quotes the Baal Ha'itr by Chanukah. Fine. But when it comes to Megillah, Rabbi Yosef Kaira doesn't quote the Baal Ha'itr. Rabbi Yosef Kaira just writes clear the kid can't do it.
Cannot.
Right, can't. So if you look in the Magen Avraham in number 9, look in the 3rd line, V'tzarachiyun, in number 9. The Harav Beis Yosef Pasak B'soif Simon Tafrei Shayin Hey, we're in the 4th line of number, or the 3rd line of number 9. In Laws of Chanukah, he brings the Baal Ha'itr, Shemachshir B'katan, says a kid can do it. V'hacha Sasam Pasak Kadasha, here he says no. He just says a kid can't. Don't try and distinguish between Megillah and Ner Chanukah. And also in the Ran, it's mashma that they're equal, that they're similar. So the Magen Avraham wants to know why Rabbi Yosef Kaira makes this change. The Chura, they're equal. So the Pri Megadim in number 3 has a beautiful piece. This is in his big introduction he wrote to Shulchan Aruch. A very, very long introduction. Many pages, and he says in number 3, Ve'efshir yesh lemer. He wants to say like this, that even according to the Baal Ha'itr, when it comes to Chanukah, you know why the kid can light for the father? Because the father is chayv rabbinically, and so is the kid. The kid is a D'Rabbanan on a D'Rabbanan, but he's in the ballpark of rabbinic. But by Megillah, the father's chayv from the scriptures, Medivrei Kabbalah.
For sure.
That's why Rabbi Yosef Kaira couldn't bring it by Megillah.
What's the
question?
What's the question?
Look at number 3 of the Pri Megadim. The Efshir Yeshlim Mishum Hachi Kasav Harav Malamed Zal in Shailas Shuvas Beis Yosef. The Beis Yosef writes, his words are brought in the Knesset Hagdolah, who was a big Rav in Turkey. Originally he was a supporter of Shabsai Tzvi, and then he made a big U-turn. The Knesset Hagdolah. And the Magen Avraham quotes it that a cotton shouldn't read in the third line of number 3. A cotton shouldn't lane. He says, you know what would be the reason? The Yira Hatam, it seems to me, a cotton is chayv and chinuch midrabanan. But a gadol is mechuyev in laning medivrei Kabbalah, because Moshe Rabbeinu made the takana. Now Moshe said you have to lane every Shabbos. But it's not from any scriptures, not from the scriptures. The Pri Megadim says, yet I want to call it Divrei Kabbalah. If it's made by a prophet, it's called Divrei Kabbalah. Ve'ein d'Rabbanan moitzi mechuyev meKabbalah. Nobody would hold that someone who's chayiv rabbinically could be moitzi someone who's chayiv from the prophets. Ubahachi nichali, in the end of the number 3, the end of the 4th line, he says, now I'll answer the Magen Avraham Shaila. In Simon Tofresh Peites and Erechaim, the Magen Avraham Ois Daled that we saw in number 9 says a cotton can't be moitzi a gadol by Megillah, but b'Chanukah Rabbi Yosef Kaira paskins he can, like the Baal Ha'itr. What's the difference? V'yeshleim, I'll tell you the difference. Ner Chanukah is just rabbinic. So even though the kid is a D'Rabbanan on a D'Rabbanan, because he's chinuch on, but it's all in the same ballpark. Ma'ashenke Mikra Megillah's Divrei Kabbalah. It's Esther Beruach HaKodesh Nemar. Esther was written with the Ruach HaKodesh. It's the Holy Scriptures. A kid cannot be Moitzi the Gadol. Ubepiriai, that's the name of Prima Godim. Over there, I spoke more about it. And with the answer, something else. Gam Yesh Loimer, he says, Divrei Kabbalah, if something comes from the Scripture that's like biblical, you're machmir b'sveikoi, right? You're machmir by a suffix. There happens to be a big debate by Divrei Kabbalah, by a suffix, if you have to be machmir or not. But Prima Godim holds you have to be. But there's no malchus. You're not going to get malchus. You'll get rabbinic lashes. And then he says, some people answer based on this. What if you have a city that you're not sure if was walled in the times of Yeshua? Any city that was walled in the times of Yeshua, you have to read on the 15th. There are many cities in Eretz Yisrael that are a suffix. The Chazon Ish was very machmir, and many cities have to read both days. But wait a second. If you have a city which you're not sure if was walled in the times of Yeshua, you shouldn't have to read either day. Because when the 14th comes, you should say, maybe it was walled. And it's only a suffix on a rabbinic. And the next day you say the same thing. Why don't we say that? Says the people, I'll tell you why. You can't play around by Megillah. Megillah is not Chanukah Licht. Megillah is from the Divrei Kabbalah. He says, V'yesh mishatiritz, this will answer this, that a krach, a city, which has a suffix, was a wall in the times of Yeshua. You have to read by both days. Why don't we say suffix to Rabbanon l'kula, don't read either? Or at least once you read the first day, why should I have to read the next time? Divrei Kabbalah lahachmer.
So the question is now on the Magen Avraham.
So
why don't we say that he holds that?
Like that he might hold that is all the Rabbanon.
That's all the Rabbanon.
He might hold it.
And
that might
he's
be a
talking
third
about
opinion.
here the Yitzhak that night,
exactly.
not the day which
the
is
Magen
clear.
Avraham himself might hold the whole thing is the Rabbanon. Yeah. Yes, that would be a third
because
opinion.
He doesn't even address.
So you would have the Sha'agas Aryeh and the Noda Yehuda who hold night is rabbinic, by day is from the Kabbalah. You have the Taz and maybe the Rashba and the Ritva that hold both are from the Kabbalah, and you would have maybe the Magen Avraham who holds both
he's clearly
Rabbanon.
equating it with Hanukkah.
Yeah. I hear. But I was mainly doing this not for the Magen Avraham's question, but for the Prima Godim's answer. The Prima Godim says very clearly that the Rabbi Yosef Kaira left at the Baal Itr deliberately.
Right.
So some say the Prima Godim, though, if he holds like the Noda Sha'agas Aryeh, that this only works by day. By day, when the adult is from Divrei Kabbalah, the kid can't read. But at night, then the Baal Itr would say the kid could read.
Yeah.
The kid could read at night. That would be a difference.
So we can say that Pri Megadim holds
like
the Sha'agas Aryeh.
This would be another difference between night Megillah and day Megillah. That by day Megillah, Rabbi Yosef Kaira would hold that you can't. The kid can read. But at night, we already proved Rabbi Yosef Kaira, who holds you allowed to read early, like the Terumas Hadeshen at night, because he holds us only rabbinic. So then at night, Rabbi Yosef Kaira would hold, like the Baal Itr, that the kid should be able to read for the adult.
The kid is
That's
smart,
next nafka
and the kid already learned to read, but the father is a pashut. He doesn't know how to read. So now what? By daytime.
This kid
by
can read for other
daytime.
kids.
So
No,
the kid
but the
can
father,
read for him.
the father is high from he's a different level of
But he
obligation.
cannot read.
So he has to hear from someone who's an adult.
No, but there is no adult there. Let's
His kid can't do it for
He
him.
cannot hear from
Just like the
kid.
guy next door. The guy next door. What if there's no
the
kid?
I'm asking.
What about the guy next door if there's no kid? Can he do the guy next door? No.
The
Same
boy
thing for the
next door
kid.
doesn't know how to read, but I'm saying no because you're going this way. So I'm saying,
Is there any source?
Can
According to the Magen Avraham,
Yes.
he would say the Baal Itr would say you could.
Yes.
Right, because it's not.
Because
But
it's all
there are-
Rabbanon.
Yeah, it's all the Rabbanon.
But according to Pri Megadim, it's a mistake.
When the father can
Right.
No choice.
Yeah. In other words, we would tell him to do it and rely
On the Pri Megadim. I mean,
on the
Magen
Magen
Avraham.
Avraham, how he understands the Baal Itr. It's
It's better than nothing. But it's Magen Avraham. It's not better than nothing. It's huge.
No, it's
but
The Rebbe goes
he
by
himself
him a lot.
doesn't paskin like the Baal Itr.
The Magen Avraham.
Yeah.
No.
Hanukkah.
He just says it's like Hanukkah.
Well, no, it goes
So,
back.
Hanukkah is about
The moment
But
you let
by
the
Hanukkah,
kid
we saw there's
before
two
bar
opinions.
mitzvah
Baal
read,
Itr was one of them.
Then it goes to the same as number 4, where you had one person know how to read and 4 don't. So
No,
the
but it's
father
only
doesn't
if it's
know.
Rabbana. It's
Oh,
only
okay,
if it's
let's
Rabbana.
quick. Let's finish up over here.
This boy could read for other boys, no?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Lamalo.
The junior minion.
Right. The issue is maybe it depends. According to the Ramban, a kid is never chayiv. His father has to be mechanachim.
What about women?
Oh, women. Good. Let's get to women. Hold on.
my
What? Yeah. I'm going to get to women. Yeah, we'll get to women in just a second. Before women, there's something else. That Bechlal, once a kid turns bar mitzvah, you think is really bar mitzvah, he needs to have 2 pubic hairs growing. Rava says, when it comes to a rabbinic mitzvah, you're allowed to rely on the fact he probably has. When it comes to a biblical mitzvah, you have to be machmer. I knew someone who told me that he was once by a big bar mitzvah this coming week, Shabbos Zocher. He was somewhere, went away, and they honored the bar mitzvah boy to learn Parsha Zocher. And a group of these people, very frum, they said, according to some opinions, this is a biblical thing. You can't rely on the kid. So afterwards, they made their separate minyan on the side. And people asked them, "What are you doing? You don't rely on the." So they had to say, "I don't know. Did you pull? Did it?" And so I'm like, "No. What do you mean? I saw him in mikveh this morning."
But according to how he gets earlier.
Yeah. But to lane.
Not to lane.
Right. So this is a classical case where it comes from is, it happens all the time. A bar mitzvah boy reading Parsha Zocher all the time, and the truth is, because even Parsha Zocher, many people hold that it's not Minat Torah.
Right. Some
hold that it is. The Magen Avraham holds you could be Yotze the Deraisa on Purim when you read V'yov, or when you read Parshas Kiseitze. It doesn't have to be this Shabbos. The problem is, the Torah says Lo Sishkach, you can't forget. In Torah, forgetfulness is 12 months. When there's a leap year,
and next year, if you're going to rely on them,
right.
Well, but it's not a full year. You'll get it in the middle of the year.
But from Purim to from Purim. Anyhow, so let's. So here's the thing. So there was a big. Sometimes Rabbanim get shilas. We make a bar mitzvah. We want our son to lay in Megillah. So I saw one Rav gave a psak that if a bar mitzvah bach is going to read Megillah, better he should do the night and not the day. Because by night it's only to Rabbanon, according to all these opinions. And then we rely on Rava that by day is Divrei Kabbalah. And you saw that Prima Godin says you're machmer, so then that would be a big difference by bar mitzvah to read by night. Yeah. What about women?
Maybe I'm getting confused with the semantics, but the mitzvah chinuch is it's a mitzvah d'oraisa.
Teaching Torah, that's it. Teaching Torah. Teaching, not making him do anything. Letting him know. For your information. You right. Some things are deraisa. If a cotton eats nevelis, the father might have to be chayav, and lahazu gedolim al ktanim. There are some times when they'll. Okay. When it comes to a woman, very quickly. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says when it comes by Purim, women and men are equal. Women and men are equal because they were part of the miracle. So many Rishonim learn a woman's allowed to read for a man. Just like she can make Kiddush Friday night. Once they're equal, she can do it. It's maybe not honorable for the tzibur if a woman gets, and there's also the koalisha if she's singing. But as far as the real obligation, let's say a woman could lay for her husband. According to many poskim, a woman could lay in Megillah for her husband. Right. But for her husband, yeah. And there's no tzibur, it's not a problem. The Bahag, the Baal Halachas Gedolos, 1300 years ago, says a woman shouldn't lay for men. Question's why? She's chayiv. Why not? So, for 1,000 years, the explanation was always quoted as the following: men are chayiv in reading the Megillah. Women are only chayiv in listening. They're only chayiv in hearing, they're listening. It's a different obligation. It's a lower tier obligation.
The same as the shofar.
Comes the Sha'agas. Well, you're right. By Shoif, we had a whole show. Right. By the Sha'agas Aryeh says though, when it comes to, you know what the real reason is? Why are women chayiv in Megillah? Because they were also part of the miracle. That's only rabbinic logic. Women were only incorporated generations after the men. When the Megillah says you have to read Hayom Meil in his car was talking to the men. Later on, a group of rabbis said women are also chayiv because they were part of the miracle. It's only rabbinic logic. We don't use it. According to the Sha'agas Aryeh, we don't use it by a biblical. We would never say it by sukkah or by matzah to say that, well, if a biblical mitzvah is bound by time, but the idea relates to women, let's put them in as well. There's a major debate if we use it by a biblical mitzvah or not. We had shiurim about that in the past. The Sha'agas Aryeh goes with the opinion it's a rabbinic created svara. And it doesn't apply biblically. It doesn't apply in the Megillah either. When the Megillah says you have to lane, in this Purim you have to commemorate through laning, it's a positive command bound by time. It's only for men. Women were added later. They're only chayiv rabbinically. Men are chayiv from the scriptures. Women are chayiv rabbinically d'Rabbanan. That's the Sha'agas Aryeh's groundbreaking explanation. A woman can't lane for a man. I'll tell you why. They have different obligations. The man is chayiv because of the psukim in the Megillah. Hayom Meilin is Purim. Women are exempt for that because it was bound by time. They were part of the miracle. That's a later creation from the Chachomim later. That's what he says. So that means, though, at night when the man himself's only d'Rabbanan, the woman should be able to lane for the man. No, so here I saw the Ba'asher Weiss in Eretz Yisrael wants to say that even at night, the Sha'agas Aryeh is going to say men are one d'Rabbanan and women are two, because Megillah itself is d'Rabbanan and they're only added because they're part of the miracle. That's what he says. I don't see it that way at all. I'll explain the way I see it, and actually, which is that according to the Sha'agas Aryeh, when Hayom Meilin is Purim means men have to read Megillah by day. Finished. Later on, the rabbis came and did two things. They said women are chayiv in the mitzvah because they're part of the miracle, and you also have to read at night. Yeah. But maybe it was the same time. Maybe the same rabbis that said you have to read at night for men said, and women as well, because they're part of the miracle. By Chanukah, no one ever said men are chayiv because of the Chanukah Drabanan, and women are a Drabanan on a Drabanan. Chanukah plus they're part of the miracle. We never say that. By Chanukah, we say they're even Steven.
Yeah. And she can be most.
How does he get that?
I saw a number of Litvishes just take that as a fact, and I see a complete opposite at all. According to the Sha'agas Aryeh, he should paskin at night. Halacha l'maisa, a woman should be able to to do for a man.
Why do we care what the Litvisha do?
Because we're talking about a halacha l'maisa. If a woman could lane for her husband,
I shouldn't have made the comment. So I get back.
Ba'asher Weiss is a big rav, right? I don't usually like to argue on him. I just don't see why he says that. To me, it seems very clear that unless you have a real timeline, that I don't know, a few years after the Megillah, the Chacham said do it at night, and then 200 years later they stuck in the wind. We don't know that's what happened. It could be the same Chachamim that said men do it at night said and women as well because they're part of the miracle.
You have it by Hanukkah.
If you take all the Jewish celebrations, Purim
how long is
should be
okay?
the
We're gonna
most for women because of Queen Esther.
Absolutely right.
Should be the
yes.
men,
That's why that according to many Rishon, that's what it means. They were part of the miracle. That they brought the miracle about. Mordechai, what's Mordechai chopped liver? What's Mordechai chopped liver?
I'm saying, but you cannot deny how important.
That's right. As much as we like to cover up, it's called Megillah Esther, right? It's called Megillah Esther. You know, who gave up more, Esther or Mordechai? That's our whole shir we had Thursday. Mordechai lost his wife. Mordechai lost his wife, according to most opinions.
His kid, the ability to see his kid.
Mordechai, according to the Rosh, Mordechai lost his son because Dayavish was his kid. He lost his son. He lost his wife.
Right.
Okay, Esther lost her people.
But she got to live with her son.
You know what? It's a very sad story for both of them.
Mordechai lost his family, but so did every other Jew. And if it wasn't for Esther, there would be no Jews.
No, but after post story. It wasn't happily ever after.
It's part of the story.
Anyhow, I'll just say one more thing.
It didn't happen hundreds of years after.
Yeah. I'll say one more thing. I'll end with this. This I saw that Ba'asher Weiss was asked. The big Rav now, one of the biggest Rabbanim today in Eretz Yisrael, was asked about soldiers now who are on the front. They want to lane Megillah, but they have to choose either night or day. They got to choose. They got to choose one Megillah reading. They got to choose one Megillah reading, night or day. If you have to choose. So there's a general debate the Radvaz was asked about a famous story, a guy stuck in jail. And he was offered one day to go to Shul. Should I go today, or should I wait for Rosh Hashanah? Should I wait for Purim?
Now.
The Radvaz says you go today.
Yeah, we were home.
You don't, Ein
on.
Ma'avirin Alam, you don't pass over opportunity. The Chacham Tzvi has a well-known letter where he says like this. The Chacham Tzvi says like this. That if you're dealing with two different mitzvahs, one mitzvah A today, mitzvah B tomorrow, even if mitzvah B is greater, he says, I agree, you do today. Because you can't be ma'aver, it's disrespectful. But if it's the same mitzvah you're dealing with, and if you push it off, you'll do it better later, then you push it off. Like by davening, you're allowed to push off davening to do it better later. Or Kiddush Levana. The Chacham Tzvi said if it's one mitzvah, you're allowed to push it off. Because it's not disrespectful to put, because it's for the sake of this very mitzvah. If it's two separate mitzvahs, it's a chutzpah. You're going to leave A because I have bigger and better guests coming, I have more important guests coming later. That's a chutzpah. So the question is, when it comes to Megillah, if the two obligations of night and day are two sides of the same coin, and by the day is a bigger and better mitzvah, then the Chacham Tzvi would say, if you really can choose, go tomorrow. But if it's two separate obligations, then the Chacham Tzvi would agree, you got to take the first one. Last week we saw one line from the Rogatchover who asked this question. Is it two separate obligations, or it's like learning Torah? You got to learn by day, by night, it's like the same chiyuv again.
That the daytime is Tanakh and the evening is...
So what does that mean? Does that make it better or worse?
No, so you take the Tanakh.
No, on the other hand, if it makes them so different,
Then they take the
then
first one.
it actually turns out a stringency.
No, you take the day.
Doesn't
I
work.
bet- So how did he rule? Daytime.
Rabbi Asher, why? So he actually ruled you take the nighttime because he thinks a time of war. No.
Oh,
Who
you
says
never
you're going to
know
be
when
there
you're
by
alive
today? You
the
can't.
next
It's
day.
too delicate. It's too delicate.
Okay.
Too delicate. No, but let's say like by Mitzrayim or something. Well, you really have a question. I can go here by the, and as far as the rules of physics, you should be able to reach there the next day. You have to make a real educated decision. Which one? There's no war happening, so this would be the question.
My father was a forced labor for 2 years during World War II.
All right.
And so when
Let's see if we could,
later on there was this question, and he said